Hello students, we will start with the next lecture, that is about the unit cells and its type. Before proceeding for this unit cell and all, let us see what is this crystal structure. So the crystal structure is nothing but the ordered three-dimensional arrangement of particles, which is described by using two terms. One is lattice and another is basis. Now what is this lattice is? Lattice is nothing but a geometrical arrangement of points in a three-dimensional periodic array. Means in a fixed array how these points are arranged. This is called as a lattice, and remember this is a geometrical arrangement of the points. Points means you can say that is the lattice points, made of which is attached to the constituent particles. To this lattice point, these constituent particles are placed, or they are positioned over there. So this is about the lattice. So these lattices they are having the different arrangement, like cubic, rhombohedral, or face centered, body centered. So all these lattice types we will be studying further. Now what is this crystal structure? Crystal structure is obtained by attaching a constituent particle to each of the lattice points. Means crystal structure can be obtained by attaching a constituent particle to each of the lattice points. The constituent particles that are attached to this lattice points forms the basis of the crystal lattice. So in simple words, what you can say, that is what is lattice and what is basis. So this is the fixed arrangement or hypothetical arrangement of a crystal. Actually this is a unit cell. Crystal means if these unit cells are arranged in a large scale or in a repeating pattern, which will form a crystal. Now this is the smallest unit which we call as a unit cell. So this has got its particular shape. So this, if you consider this as a lattice, and these points, suppose in case of sodium chloride, the sodium ions and chloride ion, they will be arranged in a fixed pattern in this lattice here, and actually the sodium chloride has got face centered cubic lattice. Means before this we will be studying further, but for this instance only, if you consider the sodium and chloride ions these are placed in a fixed pattern at the corners of this, so you can call these as a basis. So what are these bases? This structure is called as a lattice, and these sodium and chloride ions, if they are arranged in a fixed positions here, so those can be called as a basis. So this pattern, it is a lattice, and these constituent particles are called as a basis. In short, you can call this constituent particle as a basis, and the way they are arranged in a fixed pattern, that is called as a lattice. So lattice plus basis, it will form a crystal here. Now further, the crystal is built up of a three-dimensional basic pattern. We'll have to imagine in all this crystal structure three-dimensionally. So crystal is built up of a three-dimensional basic pattern. So this basic pattern is repeated in 3 dimensions to generate the crystal. So we'll be studying this further. Now the unit cell, actually what is this? This is the smallest repeating structural unit of crystalline solid. Means this crystalline solid, it is made up of a, when we call this as a crystalline, means it is made up of a crystal, and crystals are made up of the smallest structural unit, repeating structural unit, with what we call as a unit cell. When this is the smallest repeating structural unit of crystalline solid, which is called as a unit cell. Now if the crystal has cubic shape, the unit cell will also have its constituent particles arranged to form a tiny cube. Means if you imagine a cube, a cubic puzzle that you know very well, So those each small particle you can assume as a small tiny cube, and number of cubes they are fixed together. that can be called as a crystal here. So when you talk about this unit cell, I can draw here the cubic unit cell here. This cubic unit cell can be drawn here this way. So this cubic unit cell. Now this A, B and C, these are the dimensions of the unit cell along the 3 axes. So this A, B and C. So this suppose if you consider this as a, in other word you can say the edge length also. So this A axis, this B axis and this is the C axis, this one. So A, B and C, these are the dimensions of the unit cell along 3 axes. And alpha, beta and gamma, these are the angles between these axes. So you can consider the angle between B and C here as alpha. You can consider angle between A and B, this angle you can consider as gamma, and angle between A and C axis, this you can consider as beta. So these are A, B, C and alpha, beta and gamma. These are the dimensions and the angles between these axes. Now this is the basic unit cell which has got the cubic structure. Now there are different types of unit cell. Actually there are 4 types of unit cell. So we'll proceed further for the different types of the unit cell here. Now as we all know, that is lattice is a regular arrangement of constituent particles in 3 dimensions. Now you can draw this lattice pattern this way. Means if I draw the points here 1, 2, 3, 4 in fixed particular pattern, if I draw this in between like this, these are called as the lattice points. I will now draw the next layer exactly in following this point here this way, and one more in between these 2 points. So this has got the fixed pattern here. Now if you want to, or what are these are called, all these points are, these are called as a lattice points here. So regular arrangement of constituent particles in a 3 dimension, this is called as a lattice. So here if you draw any unit cell here, if you want to join these things, you can draw this way, this and this and this. This is the unit cell. What is this? This is called as a unit cell. Now this number of unit cell, they will form a lattice. Now you can draw the further also this way. You can extend this, you can join this way, this is the second unit cell, and so on. So you can draw further also. So this way you go on joining the points and you will be getting the unit cell. So this repeating pattern, regular arrangement of constituent particles, these are the lattice points where the constituent particles can be arranged here. So these are having the constituent particles, they are having the fixed pattern here. So this whole thing, this is called as a lattice. Okay, now this is unit cell. You better understand, this is unit cell. This smallest part of this lattice, this you can extend further. You can draw this way also, above and below also you can extend like this, and you can draw the same repeating pattern. So this is unending. Okay, so the smallest unit which can form lattice after repetition, or the smallest repeating structural unit of a crystalline solid, that is called as a unit cell. Now these unit cells, these can be further divided into different types. So the first type of unit cell, that is a simple unit cell, or this can be also called as primitive unit cell. This is primitive unit cell. Next is a centered unit cell. centered unit cell. So this centered unit cell can be further divided into three different types. Here, one is face centered. Next is body centered. And third is base centered, or this can be also called as end centered, or in some books it is also given as end centered. It's one and the same thing. So these are the different types of unit cell: simple unit cell or primitive unit cell. Centered unit cell can be further divided as face centered, body centered, and base centered or end centered. So this centered means it has got constituent particles located at the center of the unit cell. Either it may be at the edges or it may be at the faces. So this is about the different types of unit cells. So we'll look for this one by one. Now we are having this thing. We'll proceed further. Wait a minute. Here you can have. Now the next you can draw the first type of unit cell, that is what we call as a simple unit cell. So this simple unit cell, this can be drawn very easily. This is the way you should have the practice of drawing the unit cell. This is the way you can draw the unit cell. Okay, so this is simple unit cell or simple cubic unit cell. It's just like a puzzle, cubic puzzle. Now here you can say these are the constituent particles which are arranged at the corners. So these are the points which are arranged at the corners of the unit cell. How many corners are there? There are 8 corners here. Now each sphere, now you can consider this, we are considering this point as a center of sphere. Means if all these corners, they are, you can assume it as a sphere like this, and we are considering this center of the sphere here. Okay, so this is the center of the sphere. So actually this can be placed like this way, this way. You can draw such structure also, but for the sake of, just for the convenience, we are just drawing here the center of the spheres here. Now you can see here the model I prepared. This is 1, 2, 3 and 4. These are the 4 unit cell. You can view this way also. Here, this way. 1, 2, 3 and 4 unit cells. These are the 4 unit cells. Now each unit cell, it has got 8 corners. 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. The same thing I drew here. Whatever I just showed you, I'll repeat again. Say this is the 1 unit cell. Assume this as a 1 unit cell, cubic unit cell. This is the point or the sphere at the corner of each unit cell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and the 8. Now there are 1, 2, 3 and 4 unit cell I joined together. You can join one more layer up here. You can join one more layer down over here. So we know that each sphere at this corner, it is this each sphere which is at this corner, it is shared by 8 other unit cells. So here there are 8 unit cell and each point it is shared by 8, so that will be 8 into 1 by 8, so it will have 1 atom here. The total contribution for this corners by this unit cell will be 1 atom. Now how is this so? Now look here, if you consider, I'll place this way, Now if you consider this as your sphere or the center of the sphere here, this one, the down which is here, or better way I'll put this way, like this. Now this point, this red one, if you consider this is shared by 1, 2, 3 and 4 unit cell, isn't it? Now in the same way you can just stack here one more set of these unit cell which will be up here above this. So in this way this 1, 2, 3 and 4 and one from the upper side also. So this 4 here already which are shown here and one which can be placed up here, that can be stacked over this. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 more on the upper layer, isn't it? So in this way this point it will be shared by 1, 2, 3, 4 here and 4 more unit cell in the upper layer which can be stacked over this above this unit cells. So 4 and 4 in total it will be shared by 8 unit cells. So contribution of each point at the corner, it will be 8 into 1 by 8. So because there are 8 corners, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there are 8 corners. So the contribution of each will be 8 into 1 by 8. So that will be total contribution from this, all the 8 corners of this cubic unit cell will be 8 into 1 by 8, which is equal to 1 atom. Clear? Shall I show it? I'll show it again also. So this is the point here, or even if you consider here also, this is shared, this if you prolong this way, if you prolong this way this unit cell, this again same. So this happens with each and every point which is at the corner. This is applicable for each and every point which is at the corner of each unit cell. So that is why I chose this one, this point which is at the center of this model here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and you can stack one more piece of unit cells here above this. So in total 4 plus 4 in the above layer, that will give you the contribution from all the 4 plus 4, 8 points total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, total contribution will be 1 atom here. This is about the, this is for the simple unit cell. Now what happens when the second type of unit cell, that is a face centered unit cell. Face centered unit cell. Now as the name suggests here, the constituent atoms are at the corner. In case of simple unit cell, the constituent particles that will be only at corners. This will be situated only at corners and the total contribution will be 1 atom. So when you talk about the face centered unit cell, the constituent atoms or the particles will be at corner and at the faces also. So I will draw again this face centered here. This is the same here. Now these are the particles at the corner here. These are the particles at the corner position. I will use this another colored pen. These are at the 8 corners, 4 and 4, 8 corners, and in addition to this, these are having the constituent particles at the center of each face. So there are 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, this facing towards us, and this is the face which faces away from us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the 6th one. So these are the 6 faces. So it has got the constituent particles situated at the center of the 4 faces, in addition to this, to the center of this and to the center of the face which is at the back side. So in this way, this is the situation. Now the contribution of this, as we have seen in simple cubic unit cell, the contribution is 8 into 1 by 8. It would remain the same here in case. So all these 8 corners, it will be shared by all these 8 corners, it will be shared by 8 other unit cells. So the total contribution will be 8 into 1 by 8 equals to 1 atom. Now there are total 6 faces. So if you look at this, so it has got the particle at this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So there are total 6 faces here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, upper one 5 and the 6 spaces are there. So all these 6 faces of this, it has got the contribution of half. Means this, if you consider the particle at this will be, again you can prolong this way, and this particle which is at the center of this face, it will be shared by one more another unit cell. So the contribution for this particular particle will be half. Okay, so in all total there are 6 faces, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. In cube there are 6 faces. So the total contribution will be half into 6. So what are these? These are the 6 faces and these are the 8 corners. These are corners and these are the faces. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, the one which is facing towards us and one which is away from us. So in our total 6 faces, so the total contribution will be 3 atoms at faces, isn't it? Now total there are 4 atoms. So if the unit cell is face centered unit cell, the total contribution of the constituent atoms in this type of unit cell, it is equal to 4 atoms. Now next is body centered cubic cell. Next will be body centered cubic cell. So in case of body centered cubic cell, you can draw again here the cubic cell. Draw the cubic cell. Now this, as I already told, that it has got the particles at all the 8 corners. So the total contribution for this 8 corners will be 1 by 8 into 8, because each corner particle, it would be shared by 8 another unit cell. So the total contribution here will be 1 atom. And here you can draw one more particle which is at the center of the body. If you assume this as a total unit cell, this is the particle which will be situated inside the body. It won't be shared by any other unit cell here. So you can look here also. If you consider this as a simple unit cell, and if your particle is just lying over here at the center of this, it won't be shared by either of the unit cell, not this one, not this one and this. So it can be placed here also, which will not be shared by any other unit cell. So its contribution will be at the body, there will be 1 atom. So total contribution in case of body centered unit cell, it will be 2 atoms. Okay, so this is about the body centered. Now the last, that is 4th type, you can write for the 4th one, that is base centered, or it can be also called as end centered also. So for this end center, draw the unit cell again. This is the way you try to draw the unit cell. It's very simple. Okay, now all these will be having the particles at all the corners of the unit cell, cubic unit cell. So the contribution for this will be 1 8 into 8 equals to 1 atom, and at the 2 opposite faces, it will have the particles situated at the 2 opposite faces. In all there are 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So at any 2 opposite faces, the particle is situated. So these are the, if you consider only 2, this is at the 2 opposite faces, or at the base or the end. So here this each will be shared by two another unit cells, so the one more here and one more here, so this will be 2 into half equals to 1 atom, because what is this half? This is the half contribution to this unit cell, half contribution to this unit cell. You can see here, if you place this at this face, so you can assemble one more unit cell up over here. So the point or the particle which is at this center, it will be shared by this unit cell and the one which is above this. So the contribution of this would be half here. So in our total there will be, here you can write that is 1 atom. So the total contribution here again it will be 2 atom. So just look at this, the model which I have prepared here. Just a second. Yeah, so this is the thing. You just visualize this from any angle, here, here, here. So what are these? These are the 1, 2, 3, 4 unit cell joined to one another, just to show how this corner particle, it would be shared by 8 another unit cell. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 can be down over here, 4 can be up over here. You can stack the same unit in infinite range. At infinite range you can stack those things, isn't it? So this is the cubic. Now here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 faces, 5 and the 6th one. You have seen the cube and you know that cube has got the 6 faces. So this is about the unit cell and the different types of unit cell. Thank you.